Hello, this is Mrs. Spellman. Welcome to GCSE Computer Science. Let's get started. So looking at the bigger picture, this topic comes under computer networks, connections and protocols. In particular, it's called network performance. So we're thinking about the factors that affect a network's performance. Pause the video to assess where you feel you are right now. And once you've done that, if you fill in the slip in your green book. One of the things that will affect the performance of the network is the number of people using the network, or the number of devices being used on the network. Another factor is the type of traffic. So some applications will generate more network traffic. For example, streaming live video will have a bigger hit on the network performance than online shopping. And a Zoom meeting too will need quite a bit of bandwidth. So I've just mentioned bandwidth. Now, if you haven't come across that term before, it's just a measure of capacity. It's not a measure of speed. So let's think about a motorway that has 2 lanes. And we have cars that can go at 70 miles an hour. So when the motorway is very busy, those 2 lanes will be full. There's only so many cars that will be able to go from A to B on that motorway in a given amount of time. However, if we opened up a third lane, that would allow for more capacity. So in the same amount of time, more cars would get through, even though the speed is the same. And that's exactly the same with network bandwidth. It's not about speed. It's about the amount of data that can travel between 2 points in a given amount of time. It's measured in bits per second. We looked at transmission media in another lesson, but here are some examples. So Wi-Fi, we know, has a very low bandwidth. It's measured in megabytes per second, but then of course it's not that expensive. Copper cable is measured in gigabytes per second. So again, that's better than Wi-Fi, and it's a bit more expensive. And then finally, fiber optic cable is measured in terabytes per second, so it's got high bandwidth, but with that comes high cost. So this is an example of how transmission media will affect the performance of the network. Because in this example, fiber optic would be a lot better than Wi-Fi or copper cable. Okay, so what have we learned then? We've learned that bandwidth is a measure of capacity, and it's about the amount of data that can travel between 2 points on a network in a fixed amount of time. The number of devices on a network will affect its performance because they will need to share the bandwidth available. The type of media that the data is being transmitted on will also affect the bandwidth, and the type of traffic that is on the network. For example, streaming of movies make quite a demand on the bandwidth. So that's it for network performance. Have a look now and think about how you feel about this topic. And then if you fill in this slip in your green book. And I hope that you have made progress in this lesson.